Imagine sitting in your living room when flashing police lights suddenly reflect off your front window. Moments later, a government official, perhaps a local police officer, forces their way inside and violates your constitutional rights. In the immediate aftermath of an abuse of power like that, your natural instinct is to pick up the phone and demand to press charges. You want the offending officer locked in a jail cell. But here is a reality of the American legal system. As an individual citizen, you cannot legally file criminal charges against anyone. Under U.S. law, crimes are considered offenses against society as a whole. Because of that, punishing those offenses through incarceration is a power strictly reserved for the government. Only a state or federal prosecutor can bring a criminal case to court. This creates a significant institutional barrier. Prosecutors work alongside the police every day. They are professional colleagues within the same government structure. Asking a prosecutor to put their own partners in prison is a direct conflict of interest, and one that the government is often reluctant to resolve. You are left trapped in a jurisdictional vacuum. Seeking accountability requires a different approach, one that moves the fight away from the criminal system and into the civil courts. This is the civil litigation pivot. Instead of asking a prosecutor to punish an offender on behalf of the state, you sue them privately to remedy the specific harm done to you. This diagram shows why the pivot is critical. Criminal courts require proof beyond a reasonable doubt, essentially 99% certainty. Civil courts only require tipping the scale past 50%. Because this burden is lower, victories don't end in prison, but with financial compensation or court mandates. To trigger this process against a state actor, you use a specific federal statute known as Title 42, Section 1983 of the United States Code. Congress originally enacted this law as part of the Civil Rights Act of 1871. During the Reconstruction era, newly freed slaves faced state-sponsored abuse from local authorities in the South, and local courts offered no protection. Section 1983 was designed to give citizens a way to hold state officials accountable in federal court. Today, Section 1983 serves as a procedural vehicle. It doesn't create any new rights on its own. It provides the legal mechanism that forces government officials into a civil courtroom to answer for violating the rights you already have. Winning a Section 1983 lawsuit is notoriously difficult. A plaintiff has to walk into court and successfully prove 4 distinct elements. Element 1 is the deprivation of a right. You have to point to a specific, federally protected guarantee that was violated, like your Fourth Amendment protection against unreasonable search and seizure. Element 2 is causation. You must prove that the official's specific actions were the direct, proximate cause of your injury. Element 3 requires the defendant be a person. Crucially, states and state agencies have sovereign immunity and aren't considered persons, so you must sue the specific official. Element 4 is the most complex hurdle. The official must have been acting under color of law. This means the offender was using the power granted to them by their government position. If an off-duty officer flashes a badge or attempts to make an arrest, they are invoking state authority. That satisfies the requirement, even if they are technically breaking state laws during the encounter. This checklist forms a fragile legal chain. If you fail to produce enough evidence for even a single one of these 4 elements, your entire civil rights lawsuit will collapse. Even if you can prove all 4 elements, government officials have a powerful defensive roadblock at their disposal, known as qualified immunity. This doctrine shields state actors from personal financial liability. To bypass it, a plaintiff has to prove that the violated right was so clearly established that any reasonable officer in that exact situation would have known their conduct was illegal. If you try to bypass the individual and sue the entire municipality, like the city or county, you face a different, substantial hurdle. You have to prove that the abuse was the result of a widespread custom or policy. That requires years of depositions and exhaustive discovery to establish in court. If you survive these defensive tactics and successfully prove your case, the endgame looks very different from a standard criminal trial. A victory in civil court will never end with the offending officer going to prison. Instead, the primary remedy is monetary damages. The court forces the defendant to financially compensate you for the harm they caused, and occasionally imposes punitive damages to penalize highly egregious behavior. The court can also award injunctive relief. This is a legally binding order that forces the government to alter its practices, rewrite its policies, or stop a specific behavior entirely, protecting future citizens from experiencing the same abuse. If you find yourself in a situation where a state actor is violating your rights, your only priority in that moment is survival. Do not take the law into your own hands or try to win an argument on the street. Document everything you can, stay safe, and fight the battle in the courtroom later. You may not have the power to file criminal charges yourself, but mastering the civil pathways of Section 1983 provides a highly structured blueprint to hold the government accountable and defend your constitutional rights.